So many people out there are fighting this constant battle for temporary attention. They think, hey, the more I'm around, the more visible I am, the more I'll matter. But honestly, that's a flawed game. The real power, the truly strategic move, isn't about just getting attention, it's about owning a piece of someone's mental real estate.
And this right here, this is a total shift in thinking. Look, when someone gives you their time, that's one thing. That's influence, sure. But when you have their thoughts, when you find yourself replaying their words, wondering what they really meant long after they've left the room, that is real power.
So let's actually break down these two different games. On one side, you've got the common approach, right? Chasing attention. This is all about being constantly available, always visible, basically trying to win just by being there. But on the other side, there's the strategic approach, occupying the mind. And this isn't about being there all the time. It's about making sure your presence lingers, that it echoes long after you're gone.
And this brings us right to our first big principle: impact over presence. See, true influence isn't measured in the hours or minutes you spend with someone. No way! It's measured by the impact you leave behind, that cognitive footprint you create in their mind. And it's kind of funny, right? Because these common mistakes, being super available, responding instantly, they feel like the right things to do. We think we're building a connection, but here's the catch. Constant presence doesn't really create value. It just creates this predictable, comfortable familiarity. And once things get too familiar, the mind just relaxes. It stops paying close attention, and poof, your impact goes way down.
So the crucial point is this: the goal isn't to be around them longer, to fill up their calendar.
No. The goal is to stay in their mind after you leave. That's where the magic happens. The real work of influence isn't happening when you're in the room. It's happening when you're gone, and their mind is still hitting replay on your conversation.
Just think about it. When you create a moment of real impact, a sharp insight, a really meaningful comment, and then you give it space, you're not creating distance. What you're doing is forcing their mind to do the work. It replays the moment, it analyzes it, and while it's doing all that, it's reinforcing your presence internally. You're literally letting their own brain amplify your influence for you.
All right, our next principle is all about leveraging the power of mystery. You have to understand, the human brain is an efficiency machine. It just loves to put people in neat little boxes. The second it thinks it's got you figured out, slaps a label on you, its job is done. And guess what happens next? Attention drops completely.
So let me ask you this, and be honest with yourself. Are you easy to predict? Are your reactions always consistent? Is your emotional tone always the same, day in and day out? Because if the answer is yes, you're basically giving people's minds permission to switch off when you're around. The key then is to create something called cognitive tension. It's that natural itch in the brain, that discomfort it feels when it can't quite piece something or someone together. It's like an open loop in a story. That feeling of incompleteness is exactly what keeps the mind actively engaged, trying to solve the puzzle of you. And just remember this: obsession grows from complexity, not from certainty. So how do you actually create this tension? Well, first, controlled variation. Don't be one note. Show different sides of your personality. Be calm and collected in one situation, then sharp and witty in another. Second, you need emotional independence. Your reactions shouldn't just be what everyone expects from you. And third, practice what I call selective clarity. You don't have to over-explain every feeling or decision. Leave a little room for them to wonder. It really boils down to something simple, but so powerful. Certainty relaxes the mind. It puts it to sleep. But a little bit of controlled uncertainty, a sense that there's more going on beneath the surface, that's what keeps the mind awake, alert, and totally focused on you.
Okay, let's get into our third principle. We'll call it the value signal, which is all about associating yourself with elevation. This is about becoming psychologically valuable. And what does that mean? It happens when people start to connect your presence not just with feeling comfortable, but with their own growth, their own motivation.
And this brings up another really crucial distinction. Comfort. Comfort is fine. It builds familiarity. But just like certainty, it relaxes the mind. Elevation, on the other hand, activates it. When people genuinely feel that being around you makes them sharper, or more focused, or more ambitious, that's when they form a connection that's so much deeper and so much more valuable. So how do you become that source of elevation? Well, for starters, bring clarity, not noise, to your conversations. In a world that's pretty chaotic, try to be a stabilizing presence.
Let your own habits, your own discipline, communicate high standards without you ever having to say a word. And finally, use something called selective reinforcement. When you acknowledge their strengths and their progress, it makes your approval feel earned and incredibly meaningful. Look, the bottom line is this. On a deep, subconscious level, we are all drawn to anything or anyone that makes us feel like a better version of ourselves. And if you can become a source of that feeling for someone, their mind will naturally, automatically prioritize you and keep coming back for more. And now, we come to the final and maybe the most crucial principle of all. Seriously, this is the master key that unlocks everything else we've talked about. It's the idea that true, lasting power comes from a place of genuine self-sufficiency. Let's be absolutely clear about this. Nothing, and I mean nothing, weakens influence faster than visible dependence. The second someone senses that you need their approval, that you need their attention or their response just to feel okay, the whole dynamic flips. Attraction turns into pressure. Choice becomes obligation.
So the goal is to cultivate what we can call internal fullness. It's a state where your focus, your emotional stability, your sense of purpose, it all comes from within. It isn't riding on someone else's validation. And when you have that, you project this quiet, powerful independence that people are just naturally, instinctively drawn to.
This is the mindset right here. It's probably the rarest and most attractive signal of power there is, because it communicates that you're engaged by choice, not by need. It says, I want this connection, but I don't require it. My world won't fall apart without it. And that lack of neediness, it creates the space for others to move toward you, instead of feeling like they're being pulled.
So when you put all of these principles together, impact, mystery, elevation, and self-sufficiency, what's the end game? What is the ultimate goal of this entire strategic game?
Well, this is it. The goal isn't just to be liked. It's not even just about being respected. The rarest, most powerful position you can hold is to be mentally unavoidable, to become a persistent, significant presence in their mind long after you've walked out of the room, to occupy their thoughts effortlessly. That is the true art of occupying mental territory.